All right, so I want to talk about this idea of fractional management. I think to a lot of folks it sounds like a very kind of odd term, a little overly technical, maybe a little disconnected. What in the world is fractional management?
That's a great question. And I'll start with asking another question.
Sure.
And that is, what is the most fastest growing business strategy today? We tend to think in terms of new technologies, certainly remote communications, but actually it is fractional resourcing.
Okay.
So what is that? Fractional resourcing refers to the practice of taking highly skilled experts that are hands-on for part-time purposes.
Okay.
So highly skilled, hands-on, part-time purposes.
So kind of like the next level above this gig economy that we've talked about for so long.
That's a great example, right? Recruiters have referred to contingent workforces. We're familiar with contracting,
right?
But this is slightly different because how it refers to really just the part-time aspect of using very highly skilled hands-on experts.
So how's that different then from the traditional consultant role? Because a consultant kind of does that, but this is still a little bit different from the consultation role.
Right. So really this started coming up in the last 20 years with CFOs.
I've heard of that there.
There's a very finite, well-defined deliverable, especially for during acquisitions and divestitures.
Okay.
Then it started to spill out over to a lot of the other C-suites,
Sure.
like chief marketing officers, CMOs.
Makes sense.
Where you may not need this person all the time,
Right.
but when you do, you need to be able to have them right away.
Sure.
Now we see this more in other specialized areas like QA/QC, for instance, which is a good example, where you may need to have an audit performed. You may need to have experts who know the code,
right,
and draw upon their very, very varied experience.
Yes.
In the market.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've seen here is, I guess historically the idea of fractional management has been for large organizations, large companies with big budgets. They need to bring in the biggest and best of the experts in a particular niche area. But it's something that hasn't been available to, say companies with less than 500 or even less than 150 employees. But what we've seen, and with all the digital change that's been forced on us in the last year, so all the terrible things that have come with this quarantine and the lockdowns that we've had, it's forced a lot of digital change for folks to really reevaluate how they do business and how their workforce communicates and works together. And it's opening a door that we see for fractional management in these smaller organizations where you can't afford that full-time expert. What you're going to wind up doing is how I actually got into this world of you take someone that's good at their current job that might have a little bit of extra bandwidth and you throw 2 or 3 additional job titles on top of it. Now, how efficient have you seen that to operate when one person's wearing too many hats?
Well, first of all, I'd make a really good point that the large companies have the resources to do what they need to. But this strategy is actually very well suited for those smaller to mid-market companies who may have limited resources.
Yes.
But they require people to fill those skill gaps that probably happened during these mass layoffs because of the pandemic.
So it creates an opportunity for these smaller organizations to have the skills, the expertise, and the agility of some of these larger organizations with budgets 10 times what they can imagine.
Absolutely. As in any business situation, you want people that can come in with prudent speed, provide fit-for-purpose solutions, and get in and get out as quickly as possible so that you can return to doing your core business.
Right.
And this is one thing that they provide you. When I provide fractional executive management, that's exactly what I do, provide these rapid, reliable frameworks that I've developed over the years.
Sure.
And be able to customize it to that specific business need.
Right.
And then do so in a fraction of the time and cost that it would take a full-time person, perhaps.
So the idea of fractional management isn't just that you were there for only, it's not you're there a fraction of the time to provide a fraction of the value, but it really is a fraction of the cost, the full expertise, the full skill set. But in your case with Fractional Energy, you have a full team of folks to pull from, correct?
That's right.
So if you don't have the answer, someone else probably does.
That's right.
And we don't find that in small, medium-sized businesses very often. It's generally one person has to have the answer, and we've all been there working the long hours and weekends researching and trying to find the solution. When just a phone call away, the answer could be there if only we had the resources.
That's correct. And it doesn't matter what the size of the company or what industry, there are skill gaps in their management team that need to be filled from time to time. And we subscribe to this 80-20 principle, where companies say, can I draw upon your expertise, knowledge, and skills, but only pay take 20% of the time and cost associated with that. And that's how you're going to win in this new economy.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what your role is with Eternal Energy and your experience with fractional management.
Well, I've been with Eternal Energy for a little over a year now. My background was, I was working for big organizations that had all the resources that we needed.
Right.
But we came together with the thinking of, what if we had experts in every single functional group that a client at any kind of successful corporation would require.
Makes sense.
From CEO, CFO, all the way down to project management and technical development. So we're about a 10-person firm right now.
Awesome.
And we deploy our resources really across a wide spectrum of businesses, from the startups all the way to the Fortune 100 companies.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's we've started developing our own fractional management system over here. It's we're calling it Texas Quality Manager, and the idea is quite similar. Is organizations, especially smaller businesses, and especially in this economy, cannot afford the resources that are necessary. We can probably restart that one here. No problem. No problem. Hey, that's the fun about editing.
I put on mute.
You know what? That reminds me, I forgot to put mine on silent as well. And it's about this time of day the phone starts going. No problem. So we're actually. Oh, here. Okay, go ahead. So we're kind of following in similar footsteps here with Texas Quality Assurance. What we've seen is small businesses cannot afford a full-time quality manager, but oftentimes need it. And especially right now, what we've seen is that the available market for our small business clients to sell to has shrunk dramatically. There's less than half the opportunities to sell their products and services, and in some cases even less than there was, just this time last year. And what's more is the requirements for quality, the requirements for a management system have at least doubled. So how do you manage greater requirements with fewer opportunities for revenue and fewer resources for your people? And that's where we started looking at the fractional management, is how can we bring the full resources of our team to a small business so that they can continue to compete in this landscape? And I'm really excited about this because we can bring in our team with a dedicated point of contact for your organization, so you know the person that's working there, for literally a fraction of the cost of a full-time employment. You don't have the liabilities that come with employment. There's no benefits. There's no vacation time. There's no time off. You simply have the resources you need from an actual human being and a team of experts behind them.
Yeah.
It seems like a win-win combination. What do you think has prevented organizations from finding this management method before?
Well, I think necessity is the mother of all invention. Okay. In the past, we had plenty of resources to draw upon. There was enough fat in the system so that we had this traditional approach of hiring. But now we're in this global economy and things have changed. And we need to work a little smarter. And labor costs have been over 50% of most companies' overall costs. And you hit on something very important. This idea of renting instead of owning. But you need to have experts at that touch of a button, like you said. So companies want to be able to control that process and make sure that they have the best people on their staff But now that companies like you have identified this and started doing it, now they have a trusted partner they can call
Right.
24/7, 365 when you need them.
Exactly. And yeah, I almost equate this to similar to what happened with the dot-com boom. Because in the dot-com boom, you could have a single person carrying the same weight and the same power as a large organization. You know, the small guys could finally compete on the bigger fields because they had the access to the same resources, the same information. And so in light of everything that's happened in the last year, it's our hope that we're going to see a similar type of opportunity arise so that these smaller organizations, smaller companies can still compete, if not as well, but even better than the larger teams. Because as we all know, a small business can pivot and adjust so much more readily and easily than a large organization.
Isn't that the name of the game since last year?
It is. It absolutely is. So this is really exciting to me that there's opportunities to do so much good for these small businesses. You know, the last I read is that small business accounts for 85% of the business in the United States. More than half the people employed in this country are employed by a small business. And small businesses, we all know, suffered the most in the last year. So to me, this is a great opportunity for folks to really be able to compete, to earn the living that they need to take care of their family and take care of their customers.
And it's a lot of fun as well.
It is. That's probably my favorite part is I love to see how many different ways people can solve a problem. It's fascinating. You can work with 3 different shops that are technically the same expertise and provide the same solution, but they achieve it in such dramatic and different manners. And I've told folks for years that's one of the things you really need to pay attention to when you're having an internal audit or an external audit from your certifying body. You have to realize that external auditor has audited probably 50 companies very, very similar to you. And while they're technically not allowed to consult, they do have a lot of advice and expertise that you can learn from. And solutions such as this bring that into the daily life of these organizations. So do you have any additional comments about this new world of fractional management? Well, I guess new to a lot of organizations, but apparently it's been around for some of the larger companies for a while.
Well, I would say it's important to find that trusted partner. So essentially on the front end, do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Find those people that you can rely on. And then look at seeing where you can outsource those different departments and really draw upon experts like yourself to help provide more value for your operations.
Well, hey, if folks want to find out about Eternal Energy, the solutions y'all are offering, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we invite you to visit www.eternal-nrg.com.
Okay.
And you can find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
As well.
And you can find out more about what we're doing here with Texas Quality Assurance at texasqualitymanager.com. Again, all the information on LinkedIn. We'll make sure that it's listed in the comments below. Hey, thank you.
Take care. Thank you for having me.